Hi everybody, I'm Phil Fatika. Welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. We have two very special people for you today talking about the events of the day, the headlines of the day. Let me tease you a little bit with that before we introduce you to the people representing the ERIE Unified Youth Violence Reduction Initiative. Sitting in the middle, of course, the good-looking one, Andrea Beer, am I pronouncing it correctly? And next to Andrea is a face that I believe all of our viewers know, and this is Erie County District Attorney Jack Dennery. Jack, thank you. Andrea, thank you. Let's shorten it to the ERIE Unified or Unified ERIE, okay? What does that mean? What are we talking about? You.
Well, we're talking about a three-pronged effort to reduce violence and problem behaviors in Erie County. So 3 prongs including prevention, enforcement, and reentry.
Couldn't get more topical than that. Jack, I would imagine that your play in this is the enforcement.
That's correct. Certainly, we see it every day on television. We read it every day. You know, Erie has a perception, whether it's statistically backed up or not, of increased violence over the last few years, particularly among youth. Yeah. And so perception is often the reality, and the reality is that as we go out in our neighborhoods, our communities, people don't feel safe. And so, you know, it was decided that we have to take a different tack, take a different approach than we've been taking over the years. Something new, but also combining some old thoughts on how to combat the violence.
Nice, okay. I know that we have some graphics to show you. Let's start with the one that you told me, Andrea, that has the 3 circles in it, and they kind of all intersect. And one of them is prevention, one of them is enforcement, and one of them is re-entry. Yes. So prevention meaning what?
Preventing problem behaviors. So we're talking about preventing not just violence, but teen pregnancy, school dropout, suicide, depression, all those kinds of problem behaviors.
And enforcement, Jack just touched on that one, so let's come back to the re-entry one again for you.
Re-entry, when we send someone away after enforcement's done its job and someone's been incarcerated, they eventually come back to our community. So how are we successfully helping them to reintegrate and have productive lives, not just looking at that revolving door?
Okay. Second graphic that I think we have to show you is one that says Communities That Care Process. So yes. I would assume that would sort of almost be a driving mission statement to say, well, we need to care. How are we going to get this processed? Okay, is that fair? Say
yes.
That? Okay, and that entails what? Either one of you, it doesn't matter.
Well, the Communities That Care process is a proven prevention model that is actually supported. It's been researched across the nation, and if you follow this model, you can make a difference in your community. You can actually change things. Okay. It's hinged on a public health model where we take data, we evaluate that data, figure out what our biggest risk factors are, and then address those. Have a written plan that we follow, strategies that we take care of, and then after we've done the plan, we evaluate the data again and we move around that cycle.
Okay. We all know what Jack does. Jack is the Erie County District Attorney. He catches the bad guys and prosecutes them. Andrew, what do you do?
I'm the coordinator for the Community Action Plan. So we said the 3 prongs, prevention, enforcement, and reentry. Jack plays a key role in the enforcement. The prevention part is run by this plan, this community action plan. And then I'm the facilitator for the different committees that work on those strategies. And it's not just something we belong to, it's action. It's things that we are doing to change Erie. And is it fair to say that you are associated with Mercyhurst? I am. I'm an employee at Mercyhurst University. I work at the Civic Institute, but I am really part of this collaborative that works on all these. And the third graphic I know that we have is the one that talks about the action plan that, you know, a lot of words, a lot of committees, we'll meet again. We all know that, but this is the one that apparently is getting some traction and is gaining really good ground, and this is the Community Action Plan. And Jack, are you familiar with this?
I am.
Okay, we have a couple of slides there to show you. And the first one is they're talking about the risk factors, and they are.
Well, community disorganization, what the Community Action Plan addresses are what they've found to be the top 3 risk factors. In other words, behavior in the community or parts of the community that aren't working, and they aren't working for a particular reason, and again, data backs up why they're not working. So community disorganization, family conflict, and parental attitudes favorable towards problem behavior, essentially saying, listen, that, taking it from the bottom up, that family attitudes favorable towards bad behavior is that there's no reinforcement in the house for the kids. They don't necessarily know right from wrong, or if they do, right isn't being enforced in any meaningful way. And then family conflict, that within the family, I mean, it kind of dovetails into it, within the family. There's not a lot of structure, and obviously from my point of view in law enforcement, we know why there's not a lot of structure, because many times one of the parents is missing or both are missing from the home for various reasons. And obviously community disorganization is that the neighborhood in which the individuals live in, there's not cohesiveness, there's not a sense of brotherhood, there's no like common good that the people look towards within their neighborhood. So those are the risk factors that have been identified as the top 3 in Erie,
Okay.
and obviously then you want to combat those.
Generally speaking, is it fair to say then that what you just said is applying to almost all communities? I mean, we're not unique here, right?
Well,
We're
actually,
not setting the trend.
we are unique in what our risk factors are.
Oh,
So the research,
good.
we go through the same process that other communities who use this process are doing. But the risk factors, there can be up to 20 different risk factors. And these are the 3 that came to the top for Erie. If you go 2 counties south of us, they have different risk factors.
Okay, great to know that. Now, obviously, if you have some kind of factors that are risky, what are the protective factors? You want to handle
So
those?
protective
right now?
factors are the things that buffer young people from problem behavior.
Okay.
So the more that they're present and the stronger they are in a community, the less likely they are to engage in problem behaviors. So in Erie, we want to pick the 3 that we're doing the worst in, that are the lowest, and we want to address those and bring them higher. So ours are community rewards for pro-social involvement and community opportunities for pro-social involvement. In layman's terms, those are kids having opportunities to do good things in their community and get caught doing it. And they're saying that they don't have that. They know how to do it in school, but when they get out of school, they don't know how to do good things in their community. And then the third one is really interesting, which is what we call religiosity.
Ooh.
That's participating
Yeah.
in an organized religion 1 or more hours per week.
Wow. To me, that's sort of a new component. I've not heard religiosity thrown into the mix before. Jack, have you?
Well, no, I would say overall, no, we
Yeah.
haven't. But what the data shows is that when you ask these individuals who have exhibited problem behavior, that is one of the pillars in their world, and it typically comes from maybe a grandmother, an aunt, and who has taken them to church, who has let them experience good living, good moral values, and so. Yes, it's certainly identifiable here.
Okay. I have to stress that the 2 people you see in front of you are just like a tiny tip of a huge iceberg. Is that correct?
That is
there
very
are
true.
major shakers and movers involved in this. This is not just a bunch of people sitting around and look good on a resume kind of a thing. You want to tell us who else is involved here? Or not necessarily specifically, but organizations or what you're called?
Sure. Well, because this is actually a collaborative made up of collaboratives.
Okay.
So the prevention is run and owned by the Policy and Planning Council, the Erie County Policy and Planning Council for Children and Families, which is a collaborative that has more than 60 members, representatives from multiple agencies throughout the community, and individuals from the community itself, just community at large members. Then the law enforcement, Jack's office really owns that, but multiple law enforcement agencies working on those. And then reentry is being run right now by ERIE Together, and that's a collaborative made up of multiple people from within the community. So altogether, you have literally hundreds of people working on this.
Yes, thank you for saying that. I think, so well said by Andrea, and there's so much information here that you can digest because you have a website and you have a phone number, and that is?
Absolutely. So the website, you want to go to www.unifiederie.org, and that's what we would recommend getting as much information as you can off of there. But if you'd like to call me, my phone number is 824-3673.
And they'll actually get you.
They will get me.
Wonderful. Again, the number
824-3673,
and the website?
unifiederie.org.
Okay. So, what are you working on right now?
Right now,
You
we're
got a day to answer that too.
yes, indeed. We are working on multiple initiatives, but within our committees, we're working on launching an organization called the Neighborhood Resource Organization. We received funding for an executive director, and we're working on this organization being a pipeline to individual neighborhoods through Neighborhood Watch or neighborhood groups to help grassroots neighborhoods figure out a data-driven approach to finding out what the biggest problems are in their neighborhood, deciding what they're going to do about it, and then helping them secure funding.
So, a lot of initiatives going on from the enforcement standpoint, from all the other standpoints, and a lot of people watching. So how can someone watching get involved? What do you encourage them to do?
Well, there's two big parts of this that we talked about, which is family and community. So on an individual level, if people can work on resolving conflict in their family, and if they need help looking for the tools to do that, that would be step one. Step two would be looking, how do I get involved in my community and do good things? So do I have a neighborhood watch? Is there a group that's doing something? Can I contribute in some way in my neighborhood right where I live? But if you're interested in working on the overall project, we have multiple committees that anyone is welcome to join. They can do it through the website or by calling me. We'll let you know when the meetings are, and we'd love to have more community input on these projects.
Great. So far then, how long have you been up and running as this unified ERIE?
Well, this actually started back with Jack in the U.S. Attorney's Office.
True. Marshall Piccinini, Assistant U.S. Attorney up here in Erie in 2010, began this conversation of, we probably need to take a better tack here. And what are the resources out there that law enforcement has to do that? And so we certainly reached out to neighborhood watch groups because, as Andrea said, that they are on the front lines. Everything that we talk about in terms of behaviors and neighborhood community disorganization is right in their lap. So we realized early on that it's not all just about law enforcement, about getting the bad guys, and it had to be, that other prong, that prevention, get out there and actually utilize that data that we know works and implement it in the neighborhoods themselves, and also then bring in clergy, bring in businesses, bring in those entities that truly make the community the community. It's not just about law enforcement arrests and say, there, we have a safe neighborhood, we have a great neighborhood because we've taken away the bad guys. What's left once you do that? You still need that positive structure there. Yeah. And so it's been in the works, and it's not like it was invented. The Policy and Planning Council has been around for some time now in Erie County. And obviously, as Andrea said, the Communities That Care model has been used across the country successfully. And so what better way than, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let's bring it here and utilize it. And we got so many energetic entities and people, individuals on board.
Tough question here from either one of you. Is it are you accomplishing what you want to, or are you beneath it or above it?
This has been the most exciting project I've ever been a part of. I love my job and I love what we're doing because it's actually going to work. I believe that years from now, we're going to look back, Erie's going to be different, and we're going to look back and say that is where people joined together and really worked on this problem cohesively and strategically, making sure we knew what we were attacking, looking at the data, making good decisions. I believe it's going to work. We're accomplishing things. We've been able to bring a great deal of grant money into the community. And for instance, we had a project that was listed as one of the strategies, bringing in this parent-child interactive therapy. Well, it was going to cost $135,000. Because we had this plan, we were able to connect with agencies and bring that training to Erie for free. And we have therapists up and running with no cost from us. Much similar to that is the Project Safe Neighborhoods and Burn grant initiatives that are federal grants that we were able to collaborate on. The City of Erie and other agencies all work together to apply for that funding. And we got it because we had a cohesive plan with so many people at the table.
Wow, that speaks volumes about the groundwork that you've laid for this and the people who have gone before you. Jack, you mentioned something about the data-driven process. Just a little bit more explanation of that, the data-driven process, meaning, go ahead, start anywhere.
Well, from the enforcement standpoint, what the data says and what we know from across the country is that despite what many think is, let's say, problems, criminal behavior in neighborhoods, we know the data shows that a small percentage of people commit a large percentage of crime. So you say, okay, well, how do we go fight crimes in our neighborhood? Well, it used to be, well, we have to just saturate a particular area and we'll just rid that area of the criminals that are there. Well, the better tact is to say, listen, we can identify the individuals in that area who we know are problems. And when I talk about problems, I'm talking about chronic violent offenders, okay, which is part of the enforcement initiative. To identify those individuals in the neighborhood, in those neighborhoods that we know carry guns, commit robberies, rapes, attempted homicides, aggravated assaults. They have a history of doing that type of activity. If we can identify those people, because they're probably not changing their behavior, you know, without some force, if we can identify them and target them, and I'm not talking about illegal targeting, I'm talking about just keeping an eye on where they are, what they're doing, and who their associates are, it's a much more efficient way of addressing the behavior. And I will tell you that, you know, this started a couple of years ago with the help of, certainly Erie Police Force has been so instrumental in this, because those are the guys that are on the ground. They know these individuals from their task force, from their saturation patrols. And they know that if you can get these guys, pick them off one by one. Now, there may be someone to take their place, but coming up with a list of an individual or individuals that we know are problems in these communities, let's get them off the list. And when I say that, I mean, let's put them in prison. So in terms of how data has helped this process, that's exactly how, that we've taken the data that says, identify the people, not the area. Get to the people and you'll clean up the area.
Okay, great. That's really good information. Now, without shining a spotlight on the city, is this something that goes beyond the city?
Absolutely. This initiative is geared for the entire county.
Okay.
And some of the projects that are working on do take place in the city because it is where the majority of the population is. However, all of the strategies are being implemented so that it can be used across the county. So our goal is to change the face of the entire county and decrease problem behaviors.
Okay, and there's no real timeline on this, is there? I mean, there are certain pegs that you're going to hit, I'm sure, at certain times, but we're not talking about, well, next year or something. I mean,
Well, we do have goals.
We didn't get there in a short period of time.
Right. This is a prevention, the portion that I work with most is a prevention plan. Prevention is something long-term, so over the course of 10 years, we can change the face of a community, not over the course of 1 or 2.
Okay.
But we do have goals for each, every year or every 2 years that can be measured by data and surveys that are going to take place.
And
so we have goals, measurable, to know that we are moving in the right direction.
And you're open to reevaluating that those goals were not met, that we went the wrong way, or this didn't work, or this does work, or Jack's plan is right on the money, we continue doing that.
Absolutely, and that's the heart of a data-driven plan, is that you are evaluating constantly. Is what we are doing working? Do we need to change it? Do we need to reevaluate?
And that's my tough question, okay? Toss up. Is this really gonna work? People are asking out there. Is this, you really, is this gonna work?
It's absolutely going to work.
Okay.
Wholeheartedly.
And we've seen, at least from the enforcement aspect, the chronic violent offenders and the gun working group, where we're trying to identify the individuals with guns, because that certainly is in the headlines all the time. We've seen the results. The fugitive task force, look in the paper or watch TV every single day. The sharing of information, which again is critical. It shows the sharing of information. Data shows that gives you results. Every single day we're picking up fugitives, people that have absconded, who may oftentimes be dangerous. Every day we're picking them up. Why? Because we've partnered with the Border Patrol, the U.S. Marshals, all of the agencies, the law enforcement agencies in Erie County have partnered to say, let's put our heads together and find out where these fugitives are. So at least on the enforcement end, which is more immediate certainly than the prevention end, we are seeing the results of that increased communication and participation from the community.
Great.
People who are fed up and are weighing in.
I'm glad you said that, because I'm sitting here and I'm watching you guys and you all look great out there and you're saying really nice, swell things, and I'm going, I don't care. That's somebody else's problem. Neighborhood watch group, not me. I'm not sticking my nose in. I'm not getting, you get shot at? Hell no. I know you're sick.
Sorry.
And that's, I don't know. You got it. It's up in the air. Discuss that. I'm like, come on, you really want me to do this? I mean, I watch Mr. Denieri come on TV and say, you know, people aren't coming and showing up for trials. You know, come on, they won't take a stand against this hoodlum. You know, so you want me to do that? Is that what you're asking me? You can say yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
In order for people to change a community, they have to take ownership and say, I am part of the solution. Each one of us is part of the solution.
Okay.
And for each...
It's nice, but it's not happening in my neighborhood. It's happening over there in Jack's neighborhood, so I don't care, because it ain't going to happen here.
But what happens in one neighborhood does affect the entire county.
Thank
It
you.
affects all of us.
Thank
It
you.
affects the whole city. It affects the whole county. And there are different ways. You might find, we found with our data, that there's not actually a significant difference in the problems for youth in the prevention side of it from county to city. The problems that youth in the county are experiencing are the same problems that youth in the city. That community disorganization and family conflict is not unique to the city. That is across the board in the county what we found as well to be the top risk factors. So what you might not think is happening in your neighborhood probably is.
Okay.
And the other side of that is maybe there are unique specific things that are not happening in your neighborhood, crime issues that you're not facing. But there are opportunities to still volunteer and help out and make a difference in communities where they are.
Are you willing, either one of you or both of you together, are you willing to go out to various organizations and say, here's what we're doing and here's how you can help us? I mean, we have a lot of viewers, and I'm talking about the Rotarians, the Kiwanis, I don't know, you name the club.
I'm that person.
Okay, you call this person,
I will come do that.
and that phone number again where you can get a hold of her is?
824-3673.
Okay, and again, this is Unified ERIE, and she will have all the data for you and all of the explanation, and Jack will be there to tell you all about the law enforcement. Coming back, you said this, and I just want to revisit it briefly. The violence seems to be, find a good word for me.
Pervasive.
Pervasive,
Okay.
omnipresent, yeah. Are we alone in that thinking? Is it other communities our size, same makeup, same demographic, income, education, socioeconomic standards? Are we leading the pack, or are we like right among the rest of the
I think we're right among the rest. I recently was at a conference with other district attorneys from across the state, and of third-class counties, and it's the same. And they too have problems with witnesses coming forward or providing information. So I don't think it's any different here.
Here's the really tough question. How or why has this occurred? What has become of our society that we have become this way? Because I don't know if you can say 40 years ago it just wasn't reported maybe, or no. There's a statistically data-driven thing here that'll say, Jack, this is when you look in the teacup there and look at the coffee grinds.
Well, I think it's certainly, look at those risk factors. Look at the community disorganization.
Nice,
When we go into schools or even high schools or grade schools, you know, a lot of the problem behavior and the problem students, you know, they're ones that have no sense of hope. That there's nothing in their lives, be it inside the home, out on the street, that really gives them any sense of structure. Actually, where the structure is in the church and in the schools. And so I think that certainly is contributory. Andrea certainly can speak to a lot more on the social end of it, but that's what I
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I would say the same thing, that you really do have to look at those risk factors. So how you end up someplace where we find ourselves now is when those things go unchecked. The community disorganization, the family conflict, the parental attitudes, those things we know lead to problem behaviors. So I would say that we ended up here by not addressing the problem behaviors in our community.
Okay, all right. Again, Erie County District Attorney Jack Denieri, and speaking on Unified ERIE is Andrea Beer. She actually works at Mercier's College?
I do.
Yeah, and they're more than willing to come and speak to any organization that you have out there to tell and talk about and explain this plan about how we can make ourselves better. We'll let the lady go last. We've got about 2-3 minutes left. Jack, a nice concluding statement.
well, again, I think what's at the core here is that there has been a unification, and it might be oversimplifying, but there's a collaboration. Law enforcement, neighborhood watch, businesses, clergy, everyone realizes that there's an investment here. An investment, and then commitment follows that investment. You can't just say I'm in and then and not come to the table anymore. And I think that's what what we've seen as successful on the enforcement end, and I think we're starting to see the prevention end as well. But as Andrea said, that's long term, but that's why we're so confident as we sit here.
Thank you. Andrea, you have the last word, and you can take a couple minutes or until you cough.
I think that this is going to work. I think that this has got, like he said, so many people at the table, so many people have invested. And the people who have worked so hard on this plan already, I've been working on it for a year, people worked on it before I came along. So many people, so much work, and it's working off of a model that's proven to be effective, that I'm just excited. For Erie, I'm excited for what's going to happen to this community that I live in.
I know it's going to succeed because of the two of you and the people that work with you too. Thanks for taking your time to come in today. It was just great.
Thank
just
you.
Great. Thank you for taking your time to tune in. These people are available if you would like to talk to them and have them be invited to your church or to your organization. Jack Denieri and your beer. I'm Phil Fatica. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Take care.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.